Good morning and welcome. I'm Councillor Abby Brown. I'm the leader of Stoke-on-Trent City Council, and thank you all for your patience while we've been sorting out a few technical issues this morning. I want to welcome you to the launch of our newest procurement framework, the Professional Services in the Built Environment. I met a number of you last year when we launched the applications for this framework in the King's Hall and in Stoke-on-Trent, and I'm delighted to welcome you back today, along with a number of partners in other local authorities, universities, health trusts, social landlords and blue light services who are also looking to use the framework along, of course, with the City Council. This is our first major event launch on YouTube Live, and probably not our last. I'm keen to make it as interactive as possible, so please do ask questions via the stream and we'll try to answer as many as we can as we go along or at the end. The running order this morning is our vision for the city, which I'll set out shortly, including our capital programme. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Councillor Dave Evans, who's going to talk about the use of social value and corporate social responsibility, especially for the young people in our city, those within our care, and giving them a great start in life. And then finally, I'm going to hand over to the City Council's commercial manager, Jonathan Phipps, who's going to describe how the framework will work in practice, and then we'll finish with question and answers. I love a bit of social media interaction, so if you've enjoyed the event, please do let us know. You can contact us via the Stoke-on-Trent City Council accounts on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn or Instagram, or you can tweet me directly at abbybrown1, and remember to use the hashtag Stoke is on the up. So let's get going. I want to welcome you to Stoke-on-Trent, my small but very mighty city. And we are the beating heart of the UK. The Prime Minister recently called us the crucible of the country, and we are the world capital of ceramics. But we are so much more than that. Our city is delivering and we are ambitious to do more. In the last 5 years, we've delivered over 8,000 jobs, including over 1,000 new skilled jobs at our SMITHFIELD site in the city centre. We've delivered over 1 million square foot of employment space and seen jobs growth of 2.2% predicted in 2020. That was pre-COVID, but our city centre footfall has been down just 6% currently, making it one of the strongest regional performances going into the recovery phase. And earlier this year, Powerhouse UK stated that we were creating jobs faster in Stoke-on-Trent than any city in the UK. As a city council, we really believe in our city motto, Vis Unita Fortior, and we believe that working with residents, businesses and communities to deliver a stronger city we can all be proud of. And as leader, I lead very much from the front on this. I'm our #1 salesman and marketeer, and I take it very, very seriously. I'm ambitious for our city, and with a determination to deliver growth and a strong record of delivery. One of our major projects that we've brought forward in recent years is Transforming Cities, which is a £1.28 billion national fund. The city is one of 12 that was shortlisted for this, and it involves major redevelopment of Stoke-on-Trent railway station to create a high-quality, modern, multimodal transport hub. It gives us the potential for a high-quality transit link to the city centre and improved cross-city transit links, metro-style public transport to Etruria Valley, and key investment sites nearby. I believe that turning this absolutely beautiful Grand Dome into the central attraction of the 3 million people who enter and exit every year is a great thing to achieve. And to put that into perspective, that's 12 times the population of our city coming and going through Stoke Station every year. And of course, we're going to be a HS2 connected city. And I'm keen to have the internal connectivity to match that external infrastructure that makes us one of the best connected cities in the UK. And of course, the arrival of HS2 has already created some excitement, and I'm keen to capitalise on that. The neighbouring site, Swift House, is currently, the world's ugliest warehouse as far as I'm concerned. But underneath it, it has some fantastic locally listed vaulted warehouses that overlook the canal. It's got so much potential, and I've got a vision of new businesses and residential coming forward on this site, along with a brand new civic space right in the middle of Stoke Town. We brought this to market in 2018, and we're currently in the final stages of a development plan. And I believe that this could be one of the most exciting developments to come forward in Stoke-on-Trent in recent years, combining the unrivalled waterfront with heritage elements and a cutting-edge residential and business offer. And of course, it will complement the neighbouring Spode site. This site's been in council ownership since 2010, and development first started to come forward from about 2015 onwards. The site's currently split into two, with the Eagle Rock site, which has full planning permission for a 100-bed hotel and a new build student block. And the neighbouring site is the City Council site, where it's home to the Akava Studios, Popbank Hotel and Conference Centre, and very recently, in the last couple of weeks, saw the opening of the Quarter at Popbank food and beverage outlet, and it also incorporates on this site a whole range of flexible spaces that have been utilised for a whole range of purposes over the last few years, including film sets, charity dinners, cultural installations, including the British Ceramic Biennial, theatre productions, motorbike shows, beer festivals, as well as dance music events featuring internationally renowned artists. We're currently out to the market on the China halls and looking forward to making an announcement on that really soon. And of course, these all complement the exciting developments coming forward at the moment from Staffordshire University, who are bringing forward the 40 million Catalyst project on Leek Road. However, we also continue to strive to bring forward exciting developments within our city centre. And this site, the former bus station site in the city centre, was purchased last year following the collapse of a private development. One of the conditions that I agreed to when we purchased this site was that we dropped it immediately, because I believe very much in action, not just words. This is currently the largest development site in the West Midlands, we believe, and we're looking at a range of options to come forward on there. Expanding this, though, of course, in light of the restrictions we think may be in place as we move into recovery from COVID-19. However, we believe there's lots of potential here for a mixed development, with the first stages including car parking that we hope to bring forward shortly, alongside residential, food and beverage and ancillary leisure uses. And again, hoping to make some really exciting announcements on this shortly. And of course, within the city centre, it complements the landmark Smithfield site. This began in 2010, and today it's home to 2 Grade A office developments, home to over 1,000 jobs. In the next fortnight, the 4-star Hilton Garden Inn will open, 140-bed, the first full-service hotel to open in Stoke-on-Trent in over 30 years. It's also home to Clayworks, which is currently nearing completion, which is a unique city centre living offer by 40all, which is the City Council's housing company. It's going to bring forward a range of 1, 2 and studio apartments and be the very first of its kind here in Stoke-on-Trent. And I'm delighted as chairman of 40all to say that over 40% of those units are already secured, despite marketing commencing only weeks before lockdown and us having to undertake viewings virtually, which I think demonstrates what a hugely strong offer this is, not only in residential terms, but actually within the city itself and the sort of developments that we're now bringing forward. There's further planning permission for a couple of other developments on this site, and we're also currently working on bringing forward a multi-storey car park and a 3rd office building. It also complements the neighbouring extension to the Potteries Museum and Art Gallery. Now, this is a personal favourite of mine, a project that was conceived during our bid to be UK City of Culture in 2021, bringing forward a 24/7, 365-day-a-year exhibit for the city of one of our most loved iconic exhibits. Of course, the designer of the Spitfire, R.J. Mitchell, was born here in Stoke-on-Trent, and we are incredibly proud of that connection. The building was designed by Glancy Nichols, internationally renowned architect, and I hope, and I'll be striving to ensure, that we bring back Museum of the Year award when this fantastic exhibit is opened, hopefully later this year. And of course, no project and no presentation that I bring forward is going to ever be complete without mentioning the Ceramic Valley Enterprise Zone, my personal baby and my favourite project in the entire of Stoke-on-Trent over the last few years. Ceramic Valley Enterprise Zone is 6 sites along the A500, 5 within Stoke-on-Trent and 1 within neighbouring Newcastle-under-Lyme. We achieved Enterprise Zone status in 2015, and today 5 of the 6 sites have seen either development come forward or planning underway. It includes also the Inside West Midlands Regeneration Site of the Year 2019 and the Tunstall Arrow site. As a City Council, however, not only do we work with partners to bring forward their developments, but we also put our own skin in the game. And these are 2 of the developments that we are currently bringing forward on 2 sites there. However, Stoke-on-Trent is not just about commercial. We're not just a great place to work, we're also a brilliant place to live. Already talked a little bit about 40OR that came forward in 2015. We're very keen as a City Council to continue improving the housing market within our city. And as a City Council, we're keen to disrupt and influence, including through 40OR homes. We've got an ambitious portfolio that includes clayworks, and we're also currently planning our second phase of development. Other sites that you might know around the city that we are responsible for include the Bridgewater site at the top of Lichfield Street. 40OR as a concept is there to deliver income for the City Council so that we can continue to support the services that I believe our city needs to go forward, as well as bringing exciting developments to the city and bringing forward brownfield regeneration. And it's worth probably mentioning at this point that in the last year, 2018-19, we delivered over 1,000 housing units within Stoke-on-Trent. That's more, in context, than the average London borough, and of those, 98% were on brownfield sites. We also, though, have another string to our bow around innovation and smart and greener energy. We're rapidly becoming the leading centre of excellence in developing alternative energy systems. We've got input from partners as varied as Kiel University and the Swedish Energy Agency, and our aspiration is becoming a reality. Pride of Place is our district heat network. It's not just a pipe dream. The energy infrastructure is going into the ground as we speak. This is currently the largest and most ambitious district heat network in the UK, funded through a blend of government grants, City Council investment and the private sector. Initially, it will be heated by gas, but in the longer term, the proposal is to use deep geothermal energy. And due to the sheer scale of the investment, Stoke-on-Trent College has opened the UK's first district heat skills academy to make sure that we have the skills we need, not only in Stoke-on-Trent, but in the UK moving forward. So not only is this this is not only the ambitious energy project in the city, we also have a significant energy from waste project, energy efficiency measures across our estate, and an innovative smart energy grid, which our partners Kiel University have been developing. And not forgetting another initiative, our full fibre network, which are currently rolling out across the city, including the Ceramic Valley Enterprise Zone being one of the initial beneficiaries. This will give incredible download speeds, creating another reason for investment to come to Stoke-on-Trent, and is a UK first. So I hope that gives you a bit of a flavour of some of the things that we're looking to do and are doing currently over coming years. We hope that working alongside us through the framework, you're not just our suppliers, but you regard ourselves as our partners and our ambassadors as a city. We hope that professional services organisations already in the area use this opportunity to expand, and that those outside North Staffordshire, seeing what a vibrant city we are becoming, are keen to open a branch office here or even move here entirely. And why wouldn't they want to? I'll leave you with my contact details. I'm always happy to talk to businesses. I love a trip out, especially if you're offering tea and oatcakes. And I hope that you feel that you'll be able to add value to our great city working alongside us as we move forward. So what I'd like to do now, though, is hand over to my colleague, Dave Evans, who's going to set out why young people are such a priority in our city and how we propose to use our capital programme as one of the many tools to improve their life chances. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you very much, Abby. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Councillor Dave Evans, and I am the Cabinet Member for Children's Social Care, Lead Member for Children's here at the City Council. I'm just going to share a presentation now with you. Just having a computer just running a little bit slowly, I think. Is that? Okay. Now in Stoke-on-Trent, we're on a bit of a mission and a journey really to put children at the heart of everything we do. It's absolutely vital that we do that. We all have a role in that, whether it be the City Council as corporate parents, whether it be the wider city and organisations within it that do business with us. And for me, that's absolutely vital. I do apologise. Is that it's being checked? Yes. So it's really important that we put children at the heart of everything we do, that we make sure we push our children, we make sure they're achieving. You have a role in that, as do we as a council, and it's about how we work together to really drive change for children. And we more than any other children, looked after children are our priority. We are their corporate parents, and that is a legal responsibility, but it's a moral responsibility. Ultimately, children who come into the care of the council come into our care through no fault of their own. Their children need us to advocate for them, and we always have to challenge and ask that question, is this good enough for my child? Now, I don't have a family business, but if I did, I'd make sure my daughter had a role in it. And that's what we need to do as a council. We need to make sure our children get the opportunities that they so desperately need and actually are able to really make the most of their talents and their achievements. We've just published our children's plan, and this gives Stoke-on-Trent the really strong narrative that Abby articulated around regeneration, but for children. It gives us the outcomes we want, and it shows you as someone doing business with us as a city, what children are about in Stoke-on-Trent and what we want for them. It's based around 6 key pillars, as you can see. That is that children are safe and they're healthy. The third one is achieving. And that's very much what I want to talk to you about, really. Our children need that opportunity. They need work experience with yourselves. They need help to build that confidence in order to engage the world that we want for them. And you play a massive role in that. You can provide work experience. You can go out to our schools and share your experiences. And that's very much what we want you to do. We want you to be a part of the journey we're on to really drive the change for children. Children need to be nurtured. They need stability in our city. And again, we all play a role in that, whether it comes to economic stability or whether it comes to that societal stability, making sure that children know that they can get the opportunities that they need, and we need to involve them. Ultimately, children are your customers. They're going to be your future workforce. They may well be your future leaders of your companies, and they are going to be for the city council as well. We need to nurture that talent, make sure that they get the opportunities and the confidence that they need to really build on that and actually make a massive difference, and particularly for looked after children. Looked after children are often stereotyped. They're often pigeonholed as being difficult and having challenges, mainly through what they've been through. But what's really important is we recognise that they have talents, they have ability. And I always use an example. There's a young lady I know and she's 28 now, and she's a product of the care system. And she works in a sandwich shop, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a fantastic job, but I can tell you now, she's brighter than I am. She's more articulate than I am, and I have to wonder, if she had the opportunities that were afforded to me as I've grown up with my family, where would she be now? And that's not a question I want to be asking in 20 to 30 years' time for the young children in my care today. I want to know that they were able to make the most of their talents, their hard work, and what they're capable of achieving. And ultimately, we want children in Stoke-on-Trent to be prepared, regardless of gender, regardless of background, skin colour, hair colour, whatever. When you turn 18, the world is coming at you. And we need to get our children ready to make sure they're able to take on the world, to make the most of it. And more importantly, to continue to drive that economic regeneration that Abby's talked about, that we're driving today, to make sure in 20, 30 years, it's still being driven, that Stoke-on-Trent is still rising up the tables, that's still top in terms of economic regeneration, still building the houses that we want, the lifestyles we want, and making sure that your companies and our organisation are still thriving, because we've made sure we've got the talent and the young people to really push it forwards. And that's what we're about as a council. We're about empowering young people. Children are our #1 priority. And that's what I want for you as well. I want them to be the #1 priority for our city. And sometimes that's about, yes, the academic stuff, making sure our schools are in the right place to give our young people the best opportunities, but also looking at that extra support that people need, especially young people, whether that be writing a CV, whether it be interview skills, whether it be putting them through mock interviews to make sure that they're ready when they go in front of an employer to really sell themselves and sell what they're capable of doing, and making sure that we, where we can, push recruitment opportunities for our children, especially our children's in care, as any parent would. I want to make sure that our looked after children get those opportunities for that work experience. They get those interviews and they're able to get those jobs. It's our mission to make sure that is possible, and that our young people can really make the most of their talents. And we are dedicated as a city council to using our purchasing power. We give between 80 to 100 million pounds per annum of contracts. And that we make a massive difference in our city in terms of its economy by working with our partners like yourselves to really push the economic side of things. But we want to use that social value. We adopted our social value practices in 2018, and looked after children are our target beneficiary group for that social value. We want to know that you're going to look after our children because that's what matters to us. They're our priority as their corporate parents. We want to know that they're going to get those work experiences, that they're going to be given a fair shot. And we know that you're willing to work with us to do that. It's incredibly important. From my perspective as lead member, I know from Abby's as the leader and from the whole council, to really drive change for our looked after children where we can. And I do want to say thank you, actually. I know the overwhelming majority of people on the framework have already offered work experience, and I can't thank you enough on behalf of our young people, because it makes a massive difference. And I believe I'm sort of pushing in an open door, really, quite frankly. I know we all want to do the right thing for children, and that is something to celebrate, and I'm incredibly proud of the people that have already put that forward. And I also accept it's not possible for every organisation to do that, but where you can, there's plenty of opportunity to do that. But it's not just about offering those work experience opportunities. It's about going out into schools, into communities as leaders, which you all are. You're all successful as organisations. You're all successful as business people, and actually showing our young people in Stoke-on-Trent that there is aspiration. There is a reason to work hard in school, and they can go really far. I got talking to a young person just prior to lockdown, actually. He was 15, and he'd had some challenges at school. I think he was only doing 2 hours, and his grandmother had passed away. And he said to me, he said, there's no point in working hard at school because, everything's just not great. And I said, well, how old was your gran? And she was 80 years old. I said, well, you're 15. If you live to be 80, you've got 65 more years on this earth. You don't want to have that defined by the last couple of months or the last year. And we need to get that message across to our young people in Stoke-on-Trent. We need to build that aspiration that you can succeed, that you can make it, and you can make a massive difference, not just to your own lives, but actually to your city, to your country, to businesses. And you can really, there is a massive amount of value in our young people. And some of the people on this call today will articulate that and be examples of that better than I am. So please go out in our schools, have that conversation with many of our young people. You also have a massive role as leaders. Many of you will deal with other organisations, and as Abby says, she leads from the front, and that's what we all need to do when it comes to young people. If people see you taking on looked after children, if they see you showing that corporate responsibility when it comes to young people in Stoke-on-Trent, they're more likely to do the same. I mean, we've recently become a foster-friendly employer, and I very much hope the City Council acts as that talisman to other organisations to consider that, because we need more foster carers in Stoke-on-Trent, and nothing from me is ever complete without a little bit of a plug. We do need more foster carers, so if you've got any employees or in your own organisations, if you can promote fostering and make a massive difference to a child, then please do, and get your staff to give us a call and get in touch with our team, because we need foster carers, and they do a massively incredible job for people in Stoke. What we're going to do, ultimately, it is our job to support our young people, and we're always going to do that. We're going to make sure that they can get the interviews, and we're going to try and make sure they've got the skills that you need for your organisations to really make not just some time with your organisation, but to benefit your organisation. They're ultimately the workforce you're going to need in future, and I want your companies to do incredibly well in Stoke-on-Trent. I want our economy to thrive, and that only happens if we build the workforce that your organisations and other organisations are going to need in the future. And very much nurturing children today makes that happen for Stoke-on-Trent in the future. And I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that children are our future, but it is a fact. They're your future customers, they're your future workforce, and they're very much a future for this city. No one articulates that better than our looked after children. They really are of this city, and we do have a duty to make sure that they can really build on their talents. We will act to give them that pastoral support. We will work to make sure they get to you, help them with transport, help them with interviews, really work with them and work with you to facilitate a really good relationship, because it's really important that it's beneficial to you and those young people. And only by working together are we going to do that. And for me, as lead member here at the City Council, that's what I want to see. I want to see this city working with our young people to make sure that they get the opportunities that they need. Ultimately, this is about partnership, and Abby mentioned that we see you as partners. Absolutely right. This city thrives because we work together, we pull in the same direction, and our young people need us to be working for them, especially our children in care. We judge a society by how we protect and deal with the most vulnerable, and there is no one more vulnerable than a looked after child. They need your help to get those work experiences. They need your help to get that aspiration and that skills. But in return, they will benefit your company. They will drive you forward. ultimately, like I said, the children we have today will be your future customers. They'll be your future partners. They'll be your future bosses. And many of them may well be leading some of your organisations and our organisations long after we're all gone. So it's really important we nurture our young people and really drive their agenda at the heart of everything we do. We want to be economically successful. We need to be socially successful as well, and we need to make the most for children. My contact details are on that slide. Please do get in touch if you'd like to talk to me about anything or like me to come along to anything. More than happy to do that. It's really important that we get that message out there for young people. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to hand over now to Jonathan Phipps, our commercial manager, who's going to talk about the practicalities of the professional services framework.
Good morning, all. Well, I knew it would be a tough call following two such passionate people, but now I'm going to have to follow such passionate people talking about procurement framework. So bear with me, please. The first thing I should do, I suppose, is thank you all for bearing with us throughout this process. There've obviously been two major delays to the framework. The first was the sheer number of bids we received, 600, unprecedented, I think, in the authority, greatly exceeded our expectations. But I take that as a positive because so many of you out there want to work with us here in Stoke-on-Trent, so that's great. The second delay is, of course, due to COVID and getting contracts out to you. We took, as an authority, we took a decision quite early on that the commercial and procurement service was going to focus its attention on supporting the social care sector in the city. And that led to a delay in us getting contracts out to you. I can assure you that big chunks of the capital programme also went into temporary hibernation back into the spring, so you didn't miss out on many, if any, opportunities as a result of that. So let's talk about the framework and how it's going to work. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is the eligible authorities, the geography this framework applies to. So there are four, broadly speaking, there are four areas: Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire, Shropshire, Telford, Derby and Derbyshire, and the three authorities that made up Cheshire County. So that's the geography. The second thing is I want to touch on is the type of eligible contracting authorities. Obviously, local authorities such as ourselves, that includes their TECL companies. TECL companies are those companies wholly owned by those local authorities who do most of their business for those councils. Unitas is a good example in Stoke-on-Trent, for example. Also applies to grant maintained schools as well. Other contracting authorities include NHS trusts in those four areas, colleges and universities, blue light services such as police and fire and rescue, and housing associations as well. So the question you're going to ask is, if you're in day-to-day contact with those organisations, can you promote the fact that you're on the framework? Absolutely, yes, you can. In fact, it'll help us, it'll help you, it'll help the relevant contracting authorities. All we ask is that you are upfront that you are not the only provider on that relevant lot. As long as you're upfront about that, you can promote the framework to your customers as freely as you want to. So in terms of routes to market for the contracting authorities, including the City Council and other partners watching, there are two routes to market. The first is the direct award, and the second is the mini competition. The mini competition is actually the preferred route, and of course it gives contracting authorities the opportunity to try and drive greater value from the market. Direct awards are permissible, however, although there does need to be a rationale for a direct award. The most common rationale is the most economically viable provider. That doesn't necessarily mean the cheapest. It could mean, for example, a particular company has been working on a site, they're familiar with the site, and future contracts, it does make sense to award future contracts to those providers. Urgency is also another rationale for a direct award. But as I say, mini competition is preferred. So what would a mini competition look like? Now, the whole point of a framework is to make the route to market as straightforward as possible. So for straightforward projects, it could be a mini competition could be as simple as an exchange of emails, and the contracting authority could ask for a fee proposal only. But for anything a bit more involved than that, a bit more complicated, an evaluation through a mini competition could be based on a commercial and technical score. Well, the latter is usually limited to a methodology statement. In terms, excuse me, in terms of the prices you quote, the rates quoted at the framework stage should be regarded as the maximum. You can't exceed those maximum prices you quoted, other than, of course, an annual price increase permitted in line with the Consumer Price Index, which we'll measure the 7th of February annually, which is when the framework effectively went live. But of course, at the call-off competition stage, providers can quote less than they quoted at framework stage if they want to try and be even more competitive than they already are. Just want to touch on some of the contractual details. You should all have received a framework agreement. That's the agreement between ourselves, Stoke-on-Trent City Council, and you as a provider. Part of the framework agreement included a call-off contract template. Now, that can be amended within reason with your client, subject to negotiation. The framework agreement can't. If you recall, you all signed up to the framework agreement when you submitted a tender, but there is scope for amending the call-off contract. And for very small contracts, it's permissible to use standard terms and conditions because obviously the call-off contract is quite a hefty document. It does seem disproportionate if you're only being commissioned for £4,000 or £5,000 worth of work. The other document which is relevant is the access agreement. The access agreement is signed between Stoke-on-Trent City Council and any other public sector body seeking to use the framework. The purpose of the access agreement is effectively to transfer responsibility for managing the provider to that contracting authority. In terms of due diligence, obviously we undertook quite a lot at the framework stage into companies' economic viability, for example. We do reserve the right to undertake further due diligence at any time during the framework, and obviously non-city council users of the framework are encouraged to do so anyway, particularly in terms of economic standing. Reporting requirements. The contracting authority, in other words, the other public sector body, needs to inform the City Council of new contracts awarded. We need that because we need to monitor the maximum amount of spend against each lot. And we will be invoicing providers on either a monthly or quarterly basis, depending on the volume of work they have, for the framework levy, which is 3% of contract value. That, in a nutshell, is how the framework will operate. We expect lots of questions in the chat, hopefully. But there is something I wanted to touch on before I hand it over to the Q&A. We're keen to grow our business and professional services sector in Stoke-on-Trent, as both Councillor Brown and Councillor Evans indicated. We do have an investment service for those of you either seeking to grow already or to move into the area, managed by Caroline Mayers, the investment services manager, and those are her contact details, and they can offer property, workforce and funding solutions as well. We'll see if there's any questions emerging in the stream so far, but I've got a couple that were sent to me in advance, which I'd like to pick up on if that's okay. These are quite technical questions, so firstly, can a key account meeting be held between a rep from the city or indeed another contracting authority and each consultant, say every quarter, as we do with other clients on similar frameworks? That is perfectly permissible. What I would say is to wait for the volume of work to start to pick up before you ask for those meetings. Otherwise, you're talking in the abstract. The second technical question we've received, what is the capital programme? Currently, I think it's north of 450 million over the next few years. It includes the capital programme proper, in other words, the money we borrow from Public Works Lending Board or other sources, but it also includes the local transport plan, housing money through the housing revenue account, direct school grant, legacy projects funded through European funds and growth deal money, and of course the big one, the big pot which Councillor Brown kicked off with, which is the Transforming Cities Fund. So when we talk about the capital programme, it's not simply our own funds. There's a wide range of projects funded through a wide range of sources going forward. So I hope that's picked up those questions. Thank you for your patience. I'll hand back to Councillor Brown. Let's see if there's any questions appearing in the chat so far.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that. I'm being told from the control room that we haven't got any questions yet that have appeared on the chat. So rather than keeping you good people away from your work today, if you do post a question in the chat, we will come back and answer it later. And of course, you're more than welcome to get in touch with Jonathan to talk to him about any specifics that you might want to raise. So it remains to me then to thank you all for joining us this morning, and also thank you to our fantastic technical team here at City Council for their patience in taking my slightly strange ideas and turning them into something marginally presentable, hopefully, this morning. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and a variety of information has gone into the chat feed throughout this morning's presentation around Stoke-on-Trent's plans and ambitions, our focus on children, including fostering, and also details on how to contact myself, Dave Evans, or John Phipps. We're really keen to hear from you though, so please do get in touch, whether it's about some of the things that you've heard today, whether it's about opportunities within Stoke-on-Trent, or indeed around our campaign around powering up Stoke-on-Trent, of which I'm sure I'll be back talking to you about really soon. In the meantime,
do you currently envisage COVID having a significant impact on the capital programme? Well, it has done in the sense that between March and June, obviously, there was a real slowdown in terms of the construction sector. But now I think it's fair to say we are in recovery mode. The cranes are back up and running. There was a delay, but in the longer term, the investment plans we have are still as they were pre-COVID. Yes, yes, it will, and we can share that. Sorry, I should have read out the question in case you can't all see it. Will it be possible to obtain details of who has been appointed on each lot? And the short answer is yes, and we can circulate that information.
Okay, thank you for those, Jonathan. And of course, as I said before, if you've got any further questions, you're welcome to get in touch with myself, Councillor Evans, or indeed with John if you've got technical questions. Thank you all for your time today, and look forward to speaking to you soon.